COVID-19 pandemic has caused a devastating effect globally, and many resourceful countries in the world have failed to combat this coronavirus. Fortunately, COVID-19 vaccine is available now. Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine has certain characteristics, and this vaccine basically lipid nanoparticle formulated messenger RNA vaccine encoding the spike protein. Spike protein facilitates entry of virus into the cell. We will discuss that in detail. Vaccination induces antibodies that can block entry of coronavirus into the cell, thereby preventing infection. On 13th December, FDA authorized an emergency use of this vaccine in those who are older than 16 years. A bit more about the COVID-19 messenger RNA vaccine. This vaccine basically takes advantage of the process that cells use to make proteins in order to trigger an immune response. Like all vaccines, this vaccine has been rigorously tested for safety before being authorized for use in United States and in Canada. Messenger RNA technology is new but not unknown. Scientists were working for decades on this. Messenger RNA vaccines do not contain a live virus and do not carry a risk of causing disease in the vaccinated person. Messenger RNA vaccine does not enter into the nucleus and does not affect the DNA or genetic material. Here you can see this RNA vaccine around. This is the lipid encoding. This is RNA, and when entered into the body, it has, because of its lipid core, can enter into the cell, and inside the cell it encounters viral proteins, and when they combine, with this viral protein with the messenger RNA, they take advantage of the immune response, and thereby the antibodies immunoglobulin M and immunoglobulin G are produced. ACIP recommendations. ACIP basically is the advisory committee on immunization practices. Number one recommendation on December 12, 2020, ACIP recommend use of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine in person 16 years of age and older under the FDA's emergency use authorization. ACIP recommends that when a COVID-19 vaccine is authorized by FDA and recommended by ACIP, healthcare personnel, number two, residents of long-term care facilities be offered vaccination in the initial phase of the COVID-19 vaccine program. How the vaccine should be administered. 2 doses of series or 2-dose series administered intramuscularly 3 weeks or 21 days apart. Administration of second dose within 4-day grace period 17 to 21 considered valid. If more than 21 days since first dose, second dose should be administered at the earliest opportunity, but not needed to be repeated. Both doses are necessary for protection. Efficacy of a single dose has not been systematically evaluated. What other vaccine can be combined? Is it possible or no? So we will talk of that. Vaccine not interchangeable with other COVID-19 vaccine products. Safety and efficacy of a mixed series has not been evaluated because it is new. Person initiating a series with the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID vaccine should complete series with the same product. If two doses of different messenger RNA vaccine products inadvertently administered, no additional doses of either vaccine recommended at this time. Recommendation may be updated as further information become available or additional vaccine types are authorized, as this is a era of start or beginning. What other vaccine can be administered with that? Again, COVID-19 vaccine should be administered alone with a minimum interval of 14 days before or after administration with any other vaccine. Due to lack of data on safety and efficacy of vaccine administered simultaneously with other vaccines. COVID-19 vaccine is inadvertently administered within 14 days of another vaccine does not need to be repeated for either vaccine. So if the person has a prior infection, what are the recommendations? Vaccination should be offered to person regardless of history of prior symptomatic or asymptomatic coronavirus infection. Data from phase 2 and 3 clinical trials suggest vaccination safe and likely efficacious in these persons. Viral or serological testing for acute or prior infection, respectively, is not recommended for the purpose of vaccine decision making. If the person is known with the current SARS-CoV-2 infection, vaccination should be deferred until recovery from acute illness. If a person had symptoms and criteria have been met, to discontinue isolation. No minimal interval between infection and vaccine. However, current evidence suggests the infection uncommon in the 90 days after the initial infection, and thus person with documented acute infection in the preceding 90 days may defer vaccine until the end of this period if desired. This is those people who have received antibodies in terms of convalescent plasma. They are a recommendation. Currently, no data or safety efficacy of COVID-19 vaccine in person who received monoclonal antibodies or convalescent plasma as a part of COVID-19 treatment. Vaccination should be deferred for at least 90 days to avoid interference of the treatment with vaccine-induced immune response. Based on estimated half-life therapies and evidence suggests that reinfection is uncommon within 90 days of the infection. Those who are exposed, community or outpatient setting, defer vaccination until the quarantine period has ended. This is just to avoid exposure to healthcare personnel or other person during the vaccine visit. A resident of congregate healthcare setting may be vaccinated as likely would not result in additional exposure. Healthcare personnel are already in close contact with the resident should employ appropriate infection prevention and control procedure. Residents of other congregate settings, correctional facilities, or homeless shelters may be vaccinated in order to avoid delays and missed opportunity for vaccination. Where feasible, precautions should be taken to limit mixing of these individuals with other residents or non-essential staff. In the next sitting, I will be talking about the vaccination of the special population, like pregnant women, lactating women, and immunocompromised people. For today, this is enough, and the source is the CDC. Thank you very much.